Laziali all over the world, welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. How things change so fast for Laziali. Just 7 days ago, we were celebrating the Derby victory, a nice performance. Everything was heading in the right direction, and 7 days later, we are here, Alistair McKenzie, ready to talk probably about the worst performance of Lazio of this season for sure, but maybe even of the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, I mean, we made the mistake yesterday of asking people for their opinions on the game on Twitter, and we've had quite a lot. I mean, one of the first ones that came up was Omar Mohammed saying probably the worst performance I've witnessed in the past 5 to 6 years. And, that's probably exaggerating a bit, but maybe not. I mean, it's one of those matches really where there's nothing positive to say about it because pretty much every facet of the game went wrong. The approach, the execution, physically, mentally, everything. And it's a really, really bad result and worrying performance, which we didn't see coming, I would say, after the last couple of games.
No, and the funny fact, if you want, is that things were getting worse, right? We conceded a stupid goal, and we said, okay, from now on, we're going to start playing, right? And we conceded a second goal. And we said, okay, now it's 2-0. We have nothing to lose. We're going to attack and, at least score one. Second half starts, and we say, okay, now the first 10 minutes is going to be, total domination. They score. We say, okay, 3-0, it's over, right? There's nothing else that can happen. No, Acerbi gets a red card and he will miss Inter. I was like, please stop it now because I don't know what else can happen. An injury, another red card. It was simply getting worse and worse. And I forgot to mention that Reina, that probably had a very good derby, decided to be another one in this match. I thought the second goal was a bad mistake from Reina, but the third one even worse. So, can we save someone? Probably Felipe Anderson is the only one that I would say, okay, he at least try to do something. But the other players, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Vedat Marici, excellent performance from him. But I think probably the person that comes off best from all this is Ciro Immobile once again, despite not being on the pitch for the entire match. I think that a lot of people read this as just what happens to Lazio when Ciro isn't there, which I don't think is true. I don't think is a fair reflection on the kind of complexity and depth of what went wrong yesterday. But certainly it does look like a different attack when you've got Marici up front compared to Immobile. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I don't know. I don't feel like anyone really applied themselves to their best yesterday. As it's been put by many people by now, Lazio kind of walked on the pitch looking like they'd already lost. There was a real kind of air of complacency about the way they approached the game and their inability to react to the situation they found themselves in as well. That's as worrying as anything else, is that you can make mistakes. Barrow's goal was a superb strike. You can make those mistakes, but you got to react to them. And Lazio had enough time in that game to change the tide, to get back on top. They conceded twice in 3 minutes, but they still had so much time. And it's their inability to use that time effectively that's really worrying as well.
Yes, because the first goal came so early that we had plenty of time to recover. And I don't know, the Bologna goalkeeper did some good saves. I don't remember, honestly. And Alistair, again, a lot of people are complaining about Murici, but seeing how we played yesterday, I thought even Cristiano Ronaldo would have struggled playing with Lazio yesterday. We didn't create any chances. I thought Murici made the right movements, but, if you're crossing the other way, if you're making mistakes and you're not getting in the penalty box, then, it doesn't count who you have in front because he simply won't get the ball.
No, I mean, one of the questions we got which I think is a good one. Stephen Gushev said, I'd really like to hear you discuss who you think besides Murici can be used as a backup striker or as a false nine. So he's suggested Zaccagni as a false nine or Andre Anderson as a backup striker. I mean, what do you think? It does feel to me like, again, I don't feel like we can blame this defeat on Murici, but it does feel to me like we want to have another option beyond Ciro or Murici. And for me, the most obvious one seems to be Pedro, because if you think about, we've already spoken quite a lot about his intelligence, his ability to kind of run the channels, work the defence, his clever movement, the way he knows how to tie up the attack. It seems to me like he's probably the best placed guy in that squad to play through the middle and do something kind of similar to Ciro in the sense that he can drag defenders away. He can, overload in other areas on the left or right wing if the opportunity is there. So, yeah, for me, I think that's probably the only other option we've got in the squad at the moment.
I agree. In fact, Sarri on a Saturday tried this solution in the training. In fact, a lot of journalists got tricked because they said on Sunday morning that Lazio would have played with Pedro, number 9, and Raul Moro on the winger and Murici on the bench. I think that's the only other option. But I think with teams like Bologna that defend very low and doesn't give you space, you need to have a strong striker, put the ball in the box, and hope that he gets it. But the other thing, Alistair, is that you have to fill that box, that penalty box. We saw it a lot of time, especially in the first half, where we tried to put the ball in the box. It was Murici against 4 defender, so it's quite hard for everybody to get the ball. I thought Milinkovic didn't play well. There were rumors that he wasn't fit. He was a little bit injured. Still, Sarri put it in from the first minute. I thought, if Milinkovic is not fit, then gives Basic the time to start, or someone else, Akpa Pro, what you prefer. We didn't see the Milinkovic we are used to see, right, yesterday. And I think part of the reason is the injury he had.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of attention has also been paid to the time between the Thursday night game and the Sunday morning game, and Sarri was very vocal about that and critical of the fact that Lazio were the only team who seemed to have such a short turnaround time, and even claiming it goes against league rules. I mean, it's another comment we had, Kiki Adisaputra, saying that they blame Liga Calcio for the schedule management. How come Lazio only got 48 hours to rest between games? I mean, it's another factor for me. It's another of the many factors that contributed to this performance, but it isn't the only one. I think Lazio had by far enough energy to put in a better performance than they did. I think when it comes to the midfield, considering it had been rotated on Thursday night as well, they just had to do better than they did. I mean, what more can you say? I think it was a really poor performance from that midfield again, not for the first time this season. But it was worrying because it's come off 2 games, and we didn't get a chance to speak after Thursday night, but I was really impressed with the way the team looked on Thursday. I think that's almost as close as we've come to seeing what Sarri's wanting to see from this team in terms of how confident they were playing that style of football. And it's just such a big jump from there to here. I don't think you can blame this on tiredness on this run of fixtures, because it's such an extreme. It's such an extreme jump from one to the next. And I think we have to confront this question again about the mentality of this team and its ability to, go from amazing highs to horrifying lows. This isn't the first time we've seen this. But where does it come from, Vittorio? What can we do about it?
Well, going back to Thursday, I thought this was probably the best performance in Europe League we had for a couple of years. I never remember a team so dominated by Lazio. And let's not forget that Lazio did a big turnover, because we had like 5 players coming in on Thursday, and especially in midfield, we had Cataldi, we had Basic starting, and he had a good performance. So, there is the problem when you rotate a lot that you can create some confusion and the team doesn't perform as expected. Instead, on Thursday, Lazio played very, very well. Basic was had a very good performance, not only for the goal, but he was promising. Patrick score. I mean, what do we have to say about that? So it was really encouraging. I agree with you saying that we cannot blame this defeat on the 61 hours. Obviously, this didn't help, but I cannot believe that for this reason, for the fact that Lazio played at lunchtime and Roma played 4 hours later, Lazio played so badly. One thing I want to discuss with you, Alistair, is what Marco Parolo said after the match. He said, I've been in with Lazio for a lot of years, and this is something that happened every season. Every season we were winning. We won a couple of good matches, and then we had a match where we didn't show up. And I was in the locker room, and I simply didn't understand where this was coming out from. And he said the only year where we didn't have this problem was the year of the COVID. But that season, we went out from the Europe League immediately. So we had 5 days to prepare the match, and this was easier. So a lot of people said, Sarri is to blame about that. I think there's something in the locker room that need to be fixed, right? There are players that get too cocky, I don't know, too confident after a good win, and they are not able to replicate the intensity, the concentration that you need in every single Serie A match. People say that Serie A is not a good league. I think in Serie A, you have to fight every single match. Even Salernitana find a way to win against a weak Genoa. So this is the issue with the team, and it won't be a manager to solve it. We had it with Inzaghi. We're having the same issue with Sarri, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is something that people were incredibly critical of Inzaghi for during his time in charge, and something that he never really managed to get on top of, apart from, like you say, that periods where Lazio did actually kind of, well, I think it'd be generous to say sacrifice the Europa League, but they went out of the Europa League early at least. And I think, there's just a complacency in there. There really is just this complacency where I don't know. I feel like once they have a couple of good results, the team knows how good they can be by now, because the same group of players have been together for so long. And in that time, they've won trophies. They've qualified for the Champions League. They've reached the knockout stages of the Champions League. Yeah, I know. But if you list the achievements, and if you think about the games they've won, the teams they've beaten in this period together, I think because the players know that they're capable of that, and they know they're that good, that they are capable of playing at that level, perhaps there is just something subconscious that's missing when you compare it to, say, a team like Juve traditionally have been, where it comes to that winning mentality, where they're just willing to kind of, be basically utter bastards to win a football match. They don't really care about how it comes about. I made the point earlier this weekend that Juve haven't been good recently. They've not really been good for the last month. But if you look at their record, they've won 5 and drawn 1 in their last 6 games without ever really looking very impressive, apart from against Chelsea, perhaps. And Lazio are lacking that kind of, I don't know, that inner kind of drive and winning mentality. I don't know. It's not something that's very easy to put your finger on, but it just feels to me like there's something missing, that they're not quite as motivated as they should be for the weekend games against these smaller teams.
You know what? I think there are too many good guys in the locker room. Ciro Immobile, Felipe Anderson. They are good guys. Watch what happened with AC Milan since Ibra came in. They have a different mentality. They win matches, but there's always Ibra reminding them, okay, we didn't do nothing, right? Yeah, you scored yesterday, but you're not that good. We are missing a player like that say, okay, we won the derby. What did we achieve? Nothing. There's still a season to go on. I was hoping that Milinkovic Savic could become that player. Instead, he's become a little bit, too good, too nice. We need someone that, even when everything is going the right direction, reminds everybody we didn't achieve nothing. We still haven't proved anything. We still need to reach the Champions League, win that one, win that. The past is gone. And I think the fact that since Milan signed Ibrahimovic, the team have changed completely. A little bit like Cristiano Ronaldo with Juventus, right? Cristiano Ronaldo is the guy that lead a terrible Juventus, because last year Juventus was awful, to the 4th spot. This year, without Cristiano Ronaldo, we are seeing that they are struggle, and they're still Juventus. They didn't change a player. They probably have a better manager this year than last year, and they're doing even worse. So, we need a player like that, I think. And this is what's missing in the locker room. What we didn't have in the past 5 years or so. That's why this problem is popping out every single season.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know where you're coming from. I mean, obviously we can't expect Lazio to sign a guy like Ibrahimovic or Ronaldo, but and to be honest, I think Ibrahimovic is a better example than Ronaldo because Milan have improved under him and Juve got worse while Ronaldo was there. But nevertheless, I think that you're right in the sense that Lazio are lacking a kind of experienced head in that dressing room who knows what it takes. Who knows what it takes to go a league season and the kind of relentlessness you need. I mean, how many players in this squad have won league titles?
But I'm not sure that it's depending on league titles. I give you an example. Lazio that won the Scudetto, that player was Diego Simeone. And tell me, how many titles did Diego Simeone won before that year? You need someone that wants to win every single match. I remember Lazio Regina, the last match of that year. It was like, summer. It's over. It's finished. The only player in that match that wanted to win was Diego Pablo Simeone. He got the penalty, he scored, etc., etc. It doesn't have to be the best player on the pitch because we had Veron. We need someone that when he's in the pitch, he wants to win. He doesn't care. It's a friendly match. It's again a 3rd division team. It's again Barcelona. He wants to win every single match. I got the impression that Milinkovic Savic, for example, doesn't want to win every single match. He wants to prove that he's the best player, doing tricks, freestyle, etc. Luis Alberto pretty much the same. We don't have that player. Could have been Lucas Leiva. Yes, he could have. But I think he's not that guy. So we need a Diego Pablo Simeone.
Well, this brings me nicely to a comment we had from our old friend Michael Damasio, who said it's a predictable letdown as our provincial mentality always takes over leading up to and post-derby. The sooner we stop putting so much emphasis on 2 fixtures in the season, the sooner we challenge for league prestige. And I think that's a really interesting point, which a few people have seen making. Do you think that the derby, this is like partly a derby hangover where the importance of that game is so big, the emotions around it are so high that if Lazio do get a big result and a big win, especially at a time when they really needed it, is that partly to blame for this complacency that comes afterwards because they feel like they've achieved, the pressure is off after actually getting the result they wanted in that game? That of course Bologna away is going to seem like, well, we'll be fine. We'll be fine in Bologna because we've just won the derby. Do you think that there's too much focus on the derby?
Well, a little bit for sure, but we won on Thursday on the Europe League, and again, I can understand that was a match we had to win because otherwise we were pretty much over. But I think the atmosphere in Rome has a big influence on the players. We celebrate for 3 days, made jokes, etc. But again, we won the derby with Diego Pablo Simeone, and we won a lot of derbies with him. And still, the week afterwards, usually Lazio was playing at level. It's not that with Diego Pablo Simeone, Lazio won everything, because he's still a player and we can still lose. But we need someone in the locker room that say, hey guys, we haven't achieved nothing. And I think this is one of the problem of both teams. Lazio Roma has the same problem for me. They won one match and, then they struggle to keep up with the coming matches. And this is a big issue, I think, because we have a very experienced team. Immobile is 30, Leva is 30, It's not that we have a Primavera team there. And still they don't learn from their mistake, which is concerning.
It is. I mean, it's almost like Sarri has to manage two teams here, though. It's kind of like getting to grips with how you cope with these situations when they emerge, because for a coach it must be absolutely mind-blowing to see this happen when you've just seen something completely different. And I think that's something that he really was trying to get his head around yesterday. You could tell from his the way he was speaking and the things he was saying that he was kind of as confused about this as everybody else was. And he has to basically now work out, along with all the other things he's got to try and work out, he's going to have to consider, obviously he'll want to get to the root of this problem and try to stop it from happening, but he's also going to have to consider what he does as a coach the next time this happens. The next time he can see that the team's gone out on the pitch and that they're not there mentally, physically, they're not ready to put in the performance he wants. Things are going to have to change, and I think we have to accept that this probably will happen again at some point, whether we like it or not.
I hope not, but yeah, I mean, if the players don't change something in their mentality, I think it will happen again. And this is the biggest issue. And I don't know, we need somewhere in the locker room that does something that make the other players understand that we cannot continue like that. And Marco Barolo said it. The year of the COVID, we were able to reach the Champions League because we didn't have this problem. I think going like this, we won't be able to make it to the Champions League. If you want to achieve the Champions League position, you have to have continuity. You have to win 4, 5, 6 matches in a row. And if you win 2 and then you relax, you will never be able to win 5 matches in a row. And this is what you need for the 4th place, because at the moment I think Milan, Inter, and Napoli are better teams than all the others. So we are fighting for the last position for the Champions League, and we have Juventus, Atalanta, Roma, maybe Fiorentina. So it's going to be a very tough achievement for Lazio. And if we play like that, I don't think we're going to make it.
Well, no, and the other problem is, to add insult to injury, you've got Acerbi getting himself sent off in the most pointless of ways at the end there. And Lazio's first game after international break is Inter. I mean, that's a big loss, as we know. It's going to be a frustrating one for Sarri, because we've seen that he's been very reluctant to rotate his defence much at all since he's come in, with the one exception really of Marisic and Lazzari. And presumably with the idea of giving that part of the team as much time as possible together to try and build up that relationship so that they're prepared for games like this. And I think that was as frustrating as anything else, because it was just, again, he just lost his cool. That is a mentality thing. That is a mental, he just was so frustrated about the things how things were going that it just boiled over. And now we're going to have Patrick starting at centre-back in all likelihood against Inter.
Are you sure Patrick is going to start? I was surprised to see him coming in, because I thought Stefan Rado would be the perfect fit for the central left position. And I thought that Rado didn't play this season because Acerbi started all the matches. So I was surprised to see Patrick starting. And I think Rado has a chance to start against Inter. Now, this doesn't mean I'm confident that if Rado starts, we are going to have a clean sheet or we're going to play incredibly well. But it would make more sense to me Rado starting. But I was surprised to see Patrick instead coming in. And I don't know, was I the only one surprised about that?
I wasn't too surprised just because we haven't seen Radi this season. I
Yeah.
mean, for whatever reason, Sarri sees Patrick as his third choice centre back, which isn't really a situation we saw coming, I would say, before the season started. And to be fair to him, he's done okay whenever he's played this season. Scored an amazing goal against Lokomotiv.
Are you sure?
Incredible.
I
So
had to
good.
my
It was
dad.
a no-look finish because he's trying to get out the way by the looks of it.
I was at the stadium and had to call my dad and say, what happened? How did he score? Because I couldn't understand.
Thought you had to go to hospital to get your eyes checked. But yeah, I mean, but that is a concern. It's another layer of this game, you know, when we're talking about all the layers of things that went wrong. On top of that, again, individual errors, which is something we've talked about a lot before. Pepe Reina clearly could have done better with the first goal. I think everybody could have done better with the second goal. It's really disappointing to have conceded from a set piece for a second consecutive league game from a corner. And I said it after when we reviewed the Rome derby that at least when you concede from a corner like that, it's something you can work on. It just requires time and effort being put in the training ground to try and get better at that. And clearly they haven't, because it was a really soft goal to concede. And even the first one, you know, it's an absolutely outstanding finish, but I just feel like Luis Felipe could have done a bit more to kind of get closer, put a bit more pressure on Barrow, not quite let him pick his spot in the way that he did. So it's disappointing. I mean, there are individual errors all over the pitch, so I don't think we can blame any of these individuals as being, again, the reason that the game was lost. But it's again, something else that went wrong yesterday.
Yes, I agree. And, you know, Isai has a lot of things to do, because the first goal, he kept Barrow on side, because if you see the line, he was behind Luis Felipe. The second goal, again, Isai doesn't jump. I think he's a little bit tricked from Reina, that comes out, then comes in again, etc. So Isai, that was probably one of the best in defense this season, had a dreadful day. But again, as we said, he wasn't the only one. Said this, Alistair, we have to say that we didn't see the Sarri ball we were expecting. We saw glimpse, but it wasn't very continuous. We didn't see 95 minutes of Sarri ball. But then you go and see the table, and we're just 4 points behind the fourth spot. So the thing that is positive is that, okay, we're not playing great. We lost 2 terrible matches against Milan and Bologna, but we are just 4 points there from the fourth spot. And we already played Roma, Milan, you know, Torino, Empoli, a lot of teams on the left side of the table. So this should be the positive side, right? The positive note.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're going to have this difficult adaptation and difficult results to go with it, you just want to stay in the fight, don't you? You want to just kind of stick in there so that if things turn around and you do hit a good run of form, you can make a difference on the table pretty quickly. I think that for me, the top 4 has always been an ambitious objective for the season, considering how much change there's going to be. And the fact that Juve are kind of climbing again now is a bit disappointing. How quickly they've made their way back up into these positions. But yeah, I mean, I think that, again, we have to expect there will be peaks and troughs this season, and it would be wrong to get too downhearted about the whole project at this point, because said all along, I expect there will be moments like this. I think I might have even name-checked Bologna at the start of this season, saying, but I think I said we'll probably get a draw against Bologna in October and everyone will freak out. Instead, we got hammered by Bologna and everyone's freaking out. But these things will happen. We do have to give it time. We do have to try and, take some distance from it, even though it's quite difficult after a game like that. But hopefully the international break is at the right time. It certainly is, in the sense that Ciro is going to be missing Italy games rather than Lazio games for most of his injury, which is good. So that's something.
Yes, I agree. We hope that we'll be able to have him back for Inter, at least him, because we don't know how many matches Acerbi will miss with this stupid red card. To close it with a positive note, I thought what Sinisa Mihajlovic said after the match, that was not bad, right? He said that he couldn't celebrate because he's a Lazio fan. I mean, that was the positive, the most positive thing about the match yesterday, about Sunday. I would agree, Alistair, right?
Yeah, well, usually I take great pleasure in Aaron Hickey succeeding at Bologna because it's nice to see young Scottish players doing well in Serie A. But yesterday I was a bit annoyed with him. I was like, come on, if you're gonna score your second goal in 3 games, don't do it against Lazio.
Yeah, wait for Roma.
Yeah. I should also mention briefly that the Lazio women's team have changed coaches now as well, which probably seemed a bit inevitable given that they've lost every game so far this season. So hopefully things can turn around there.
Yeah, well, we lost a lot of match badly as well. So, yeah, Carolina Morace was the manager we hired half of the season last year to get promoted. We got promoted, and then things are not going the right direction. So we in Serie A, we're fighting for relegation, and things are not going really well. So we hope that the new manager will fix everything, even though I think there's some issue with the players more than the manager. Anyway, Alistair, we will wrap it up here. Hope that the break will help Sarri and the players find motivation again, even because there's Lazio Inter coming. So a big match. Good to see Inzaghi coming back to Rome. I'm ready. And again, as always, follow us on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, you find Lazio Lounge. So please rate us and subscribe on iTunes. It's really, really important if you rate the podcast. And we will be back as soon as possible. Goodbye, everybody.